program and play music by Ernest.
Yes. Yeah, thank you all for waiting. It took me a bit more time to set things up, but I'm glad you're here at the end of the day, full room. And I'd like to share with you a result of an open source project I've been working on for a couple of years now. And my name is Ernest Miklai. I'm a Go developer, but my day job is actually being a manager. So this is how I program in my spare time. And yeah, so in this presentation I want to show you what it is, what you can do with it. And if we have time, I can also a few demos. So why did I start this project? So I'm also a piano player, and I noticed, as you do probably, that music is really a structured language, right? So we have all kinds of patterns, and Bach is one of the famous ones. And I wanted to explore those expressions in some kind of a programming language. And I took up the challenge to find the right functions, abstractions to actually program. Now I told you I'm a Go programmer. So initially I thought, okay, I'm just going to write a library and create all these function abstractions. But then I realized, okay, each time I create something like a music or a pattern, I have to compile it and restart it, listen to it. No, it's not good. Change it, compile it, restart it. So I quickly skipped that whole idea, and I realized I need to offer quick feedback. And so I started thinking about a different language, and then use Go as an interpreter of that language. So what is Melrōse in the end? It's actually a combination of a language, my abstraction of how to write music, and it's also a runtime to play those things. So, for instance, if I go here, oh, where is it? Yeah, that works, okay. So, yeah, this is just a glimpse, and I will talk you through it, what it actually means. And I put this slide, this presentation in 4 parts. We'll talk about the language, a bit about the tool, very short part about Go, perhaps, and of course, where you all want to hear something, right? So about the language. So I decided this would be my Node presentation. A Node consists of several components, just a simple string here. You can see the C, and you can put length information in front of it. You can change the sharp or make it flat, change the octave by adding a number at the end, and then put in some dynamics, and I chose to use minus, minus, plus, plus to make it louder and shorter. So this is how I represent a node in the language. And these are just examples, so how to express them. But I hope you already see that this is not really a good way or an easy way to compose music, because then I have to type a lot of notes, right, putting them together. And so very quickly, of course, I needed another abstraction. I call it sequence. And a sequence is typically a collection of notes. And I also added the notation to have grouping, so we can have chords, right? And this is just an example, of a sequence. And this is an arrest, this is an 8th note, and so on. And I was hoping I could actually play it here. I think I can. Does it work? Of course it doesn't work. Why not? There it is. Ah. It doesn't know where to find it. I have to set the output device. You see? Sorry about that. Okay. Give me a minute. Just restart the tool. Let's see what kind of MIDI devices there are. I think there it is. It's on one. Oop. No, still not. Why not? This is the demo effect, guys. I'm sorry. It happens. Yeah, it should. Sorry? No, it's not volume. I think it is missing this one. So, yep. So, are you still with me? No, it doesn't work. Something wrong with my setup, guys. I don't know what. Maybe I should do this. It doesn't see my synthesizer. And of course I can play it myself, but that's not really what I'm trying to sell to you, right? So maybe I will continue with the, there it is. I see it. Yeah, there it is. So there it is. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. Thank you. Any questions? No, so yeah, this is just one of them. And soon I realized I need more abstractions because, the sequence, still have to write all those notes, right? So I also have progressions. And this is a progression. And this is a chord sequence. So, the real power in the language, I think, comes from composition. So I managed to find all kinds of functions that take groups and transform it into something else. So this you need to read from right to left. So we start with a chord, which is the same as the sequence CEG, right? And then I ungroup it, so I get separate notes. Then I reverse it, I get this. Then transpose it, I get that. And I repeat it 4 times. Yes? So I can do this as well. So it takes a sequence and it changes the number of notes by this pattern. I just came up with that pattern. And make it shorter notes, fraction, an 8, so shorter. And I repeat in a join. And the nice thing is, you can also change. I will come to that later, how that works. And then I realized, so I can have sounds, but I really also want to express rhythms. And then I came up with the pattern of consisting of dots and bangs. So every bang and a dot represent a kick. And if I send it to channel 10, which is the standard for drums, I should pray again, if that works. Oh. No, it doesn't. Why not? Maybe it's this channel. Oh, that one. No, that doesn't work. For some reason. And then this doesn't work either. That's too bad. Let's see if we can make that. Channel 10. No. You have to bear with me that should work. Maybe I will figure out later. Let me explain how this works. So I made some variables. I extended the language to have variables because you can reference them, that's easy in normal programming languages. And then you see a note map here where I map the kick on all the bangs and the snare. And then there's a function called merge that squeezes everything into one sequence. But because every note has a different instrument, they won't go all together. They each will send to the right instrument. And I'm using BPM, I can change the beat per minute, obviously, and I send the whole thing to channel 10, which for some reason doesn't work now. I don't know. Okay. And there are lots more out there. So I showed you fraction, merge, and repeat. And I realized when trying to compose music like that, oh, I need something that has a transpose map, and I need something random, and I need something pitch. And so the language grew and grew, like you see now. Yeah. So a bit about the tool. So Melrōse, the program, it doesn't produce any sound. It just uses MIDI. And MIDI, there's lots of MIDI devices out there. And so that's why I brought my synthesizer here. It's just one of those devices that we can talk to and send MIDI to. And it's yeah, I think most of you know MIDI, so I won't go into detail of that. And so Melrōse comes actually with a binary and a web version. So the binary version is running currently on my machine. Just a little interpreter you just saw for changing the devices. And it actually has an HTTP interface such that each tool can talk to Melrōse using HTTP. So that's the reason why my presentation sent the data to my Melrōse program from my web page, right? And I also have a web version that uses WASM, WebAssembly, so you can play it in the browser. If your machine has some local MIDI device, you can try it in the playground. And this is the whole setup. So there's this Melrōse program. I also created a Visual Studio extension. So if you load your script.mel file in Visual Studio Code, you can actually have some shortcuts to talk to Melrōse. And this is how I actually compose music using the tool. And because I'm actually using the MIDI, Melrōse can talk to any MIDI device. Can be hardware or software, such as this one. And so you can also combine multiple devices. Playing music, so you already saw BPM, and of course we have a loop, so the loop can take a sequence and just loop it. And that's very nice, I thought, because once you have a kind of a sequence and you start looping, then using a MIDI device you can find the right instrument that matches the loop. So that's how I interact with that. A bit of behind the scenes. So if you write a program in Melrōse and you ask it to evaluate it, to play it, it will actually parse, of course, the language. So you get a music object tree, and it will translate it all in a bunch of note events. And it needs to schedule those events, but because each note should start at a certain moment in time. So you create a timeline. And then you play the timeline by sending all the MIDI notes to a device. And another picture that demonstrates the same thing is this is the timeline. It's actually implemented as a linked list for the programmers that know what that is. And so each time I say this is a sequence, I create this timeline and send it. And this is done in parallel. So while the music is playing, I can send more sequence to the same timeline, so I can start doing composition real time as well. Okay, already mentioned that one. So this is where you can find my code and where you can download the binary. I have a Mac version and a Windows version. I created a documentation site on Melrōse, just a little note. So I choose to use the O with a dash on top of it, and because it looks like a note. But it also makes the it also makes the whole name unique on the web. So if you type in this name, you will find exactly my site. It's nice. So now let me try to come up with another example. So I think e-piano. Deze. Oh, we already had that one, right? So just kill it, Ctrl K. This is 5 on the bells. How am I doing on time?
You have 5 minutes.
Oh, thank you. So I'm just going to show you, no, I'm not showing you, I'll let you hear some stuff, right? So I changed the instrument here, and this is Visual Studio Code using my extension. Try to read what's happening. So there are 4 sequences. I join them. But I can change, of course, the speed. I have to wait for the loop to end it. You see? And that's also so I can also change. I won't do it because it will screw up the sound. I can also change the characters, and thank you. And I evaluate again, and it will pick up the changes. And that's what I mean by the audio feedback. So without compiling the whole thing, I can just let it loop and then change, and then find another instrument. And this is how I kill the loop. Okay. Let me jump to this one. Piano. 4. This one. Yeah. Oh, this is a heavy one. I'm not going to do that one. So, can you read it, by the way? I hope so. So, A1. Drum is working. You see, I already mentioned it, so it's actually doing this. And it loops the drums, as you can see. And I start another loop. I hope. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. And it uses the tab notation, one of the additions I did recently. So yeah, so now our two loops are running at the same time, but I can add more and send one loop to this device and the other one to the other device, and change it, and change the text, and so on. One more? Yes. Okay. No hands. It's doing program. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes or not?
Can you do generic MIDI things like program change, control change?
Yes, that's possible. Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, the question is, can you do other MIDI things like changing program, right? Yeah, so pedal support as well and changing programs. Yeah. The only thing I cannot do is changing the beats per minute while it's playing. That's design decision. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Is the input always text, or can you use existing MIDI to start from and then program on it?
Yeah. So yes and no. So I'm working on that to read MIDI and try to find the expression that matches the MIDI, and then start from there. But that's difficult. Maybe ChatGPT knows, but yeah.
Would you consider also using Open Sound Control, OSC?
OSC.
In other devices?
Can't remember any. I think it's using. I started out with port MIDI when I thought about that, and then I changed it to something else. I have to look at the library. Can't remember. So I did look at it, but no. Yeah.
Can you get MIDI CC in?
MIDI, CC.
CC like
Control
tone.
chain.
Oh,
So like for example,
as an input.
Yeah, like for example to change
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a variable. You
Yes.
change it,
Yeah, I skipped that whole part, but you can actually listen to MIDI events
Okay.
and then trigger it by keys as well, but also make changes to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be a nice demo for next time. Yeah.
You mentioned the Go program language.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about what have you used to implement all of this? And also, is it hard to run it on Linux?
Yes, it runs on the three platforms. Yeah, so Go can compile to multiple platforms. So like I said, I have pre-compiled binaries, so for Windows and for Mac, but you can just grab the Go code and compile it yourself. And if you want to know the libraries, yeah, have a look at the source code. Yes?
Could it also write to MIDI files?
Yes. There's a function called export, and then your whole MIDI is exported. Yeah.
Does the debugger work with breakpoints?
Ah. Yeah, I stole the feature to trigger the loop. So, yeah. That's a nice part of the Visual Studio Code expression. It's very good. Yeah.
What about other tools? Did you consider like things like Sonic Pi or stuff like that?
No, not at all, because, oh, so the question is, did I consider using Sonic Pi?
Yeah.
But that already exists, and yeah, but that produces actually sounds, right? And not, I really wanted to use the MIDI and focus on composition language. Yeah.
Have you looked at Lillipond suit?
Yes,
If you
I
have,
did.
Do you like it? What do you think about it?
So battery bonds.
Lillipond is
Yeah, I know.
typesetting software. open
Yeah,
source.
I've personally found it too complex, and also part of me thought, hey, let's try something else. To be honest. Yes.
Is there a, when the binary is running, is there like a input for Melrōse, like that you can programmatically send, like Melrōse expressions?
By HTTP, by sending HTTP, you set the source to Melrōse, and it gets evaluated immediately. That's how the tools interact.
So you could write a program that generates Melrōse.
Yes, you could. Send me the submission. Yes.
In case you're interested, if there's a crazy guy that does have the same idea you had, but
Okay.
to represent music in a way that he could handle code. So you could do GIFs and stuff like that, and it's called Earmuff. And the guy is quite crazy, so you might get along.
Oh. Yeah.
Can you repeat the command or summarize it?
Yeah. So there's another guy, just as crazy as B, is doing
Something called Earmuff. Earmuff.
earmuff.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's code to MIDI.
Code to MIDI.
It's similar to everything. One of those.
Oh, I would like to see that.
I love the dots on the bang notation.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he does have, it's more bar oriented.
Oh, okay.
It's not nothing super piercing.
I would like to learn to have a look at that. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. One more.
How suitable do you think it is for live coding where you compose as you're doing the code?
Yeah.
I know you did
So the question is, how suitable is it for live coding? Try out. I don't know. I did as a performer. I didn't come too far that yet, but I would love to try it. Really, yeah. And also because it gives you direct audio feedback, right? So I can start multiple loops, and at the same time do other things, and then start the loop or kill the loop, and yeah, sounds interesting experiment. Yeah, very good. Yeah, okay. More questions?
Where can I find your agenda of shows?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. You should start your own show with this. I invite you. More questions? Yes?
Where does the name come from, other than making it unique?
Melody. I thought about it, and then, yeah, nice rose. And then, and I knew about this trick from someone else that used it, and then, I'm going to register this name. That's the third thing you need to do, right? Is it free? And then Melrose, so it's stuck.
Last question.
Last question?
Okay. You mentioned that it will generate a music object tree.
Yeah.
Is this, will you be planning on allowing other software to capture that tree so that, for example, to do visualization in real time, what you're playing or something?
Yeah.
To aid into that idea of like live thing.
Yeah, so the question was, in my one of my slides, I showed you the music tree object, and the question was, could that be accessible for other programs? Yeah, yes. So can it be used for other programs? Yeah, I would love to have this this interface. Yeah, I already have some kind of a visualization. So if you can show in the browser the whole pattern of the sequence. Sometimes you need visual feedback. So sometimes I miss Ableton. Yes, and well, it's another way. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all for joining.